Hello once again. I've got another lesson on the Yalak Emmet channel, Twitter, YouTube, Patreon, titled 666 Not Declared. This is for June 15, 2021. Think of it. World leaders never mention this or that is in the Bible. They just go on with their plans, and they don't usually mention that what's happening and what they are involved in, what they're putting together, is in the Bible. They never say, we should stop doing this or that, because we don't want to be the ones who bring in the mark of the beast or this or that prophecy fulfillment in the Bible, or fulfill this evil prophecy. They never say stuff like that. They just go on doing whatever. How is it possible that day after day, year after year, century after century, world leaders or leaders of these nations that are doing wars and so on never stop to actually discuss that so that the public hears those discussions? It is not something that is brought to the attention of the public. And the public, they don't ask those questions. Like you get some news reporter or you've got some conference, some meeting, and the public is allowed to attend, and then the public starts asking questions. And people from the public don't actually say, but wait, what you're doing, running the country like this new plan, that's actually in the Bible. That's an end times thing, and it says it's evil. The public never says that to them. How is it that both the leader and the people in the country just avoid something like that? Yet there are so many churches and religious buildings in every country. It is because all these religions are fake. So we can understand the world leaders not bringing up the matter of prophecy. This is in the Bible. God says, whoever does this is evil and judgment's going to come. But, I mean, they don't say it, but also the people of the land do not have enough faith in their God and belief in their religious book to address the matter. That is because for all the religious houses of worship in all these different countries, no one has it in their heart, because no one has a religion that can make the world better. It doesn't change their life, the worshiper, the life of the worshiper, so they don't bring it up because they know their faith also will not change the life of the country that they live in. Everybody is fake. They worship gods they don't believe in. They read books they don't believe in, yet they worship from those books. Now they say the 666, if you take that, you are lost forever. This is what I was taught, and many people, but I was taught this from when I was a small child. Now looking at the Torah, from a Torah-based perspective, it more seems to me that it's not the 666 mark that makes you be lost forever, but rather it is not keeping the Torah that makes you be lost forever. Or sometimes the Torah will use a term, cut off. It will say you will be cut off. That man's seed or his house will be cut off forever. It will say stuff like that. That's what makes one be lost, not taking the mark of the 666 that the God of Israel in the Torah and the prophets never mentioned. Because this 666 mark from the New Testament revelations was never spoken of, never declared by the God of Israel, the God in the Torah. And you got to keep in mind too that there's all this big hype about 666. But 666 mark is actually not the end. Everybody's so focused on 666. 666 mark is not the end. Because when people get the 666 mark, like you think the wicked rulers that are a part of this and the elite, that they're just going to leave you alone. Oh, how we finally deceived the world and they got the mark of the beast. So now we'll just leave people alone. That's rubbish. Because now you're left alone, you got the mark, but then you can still go on and try to make life as best as you can and so on. 666 is not the end. What comes after that? Among many other things, like wars and so on, sickness and so on, among those things, what comes is also control from the 666, what it does to you. They control you. So you're worried about 666 just getting the mark. You're not worried about being controlled by what the mark does to you. Because once the beast takes you over fully like that, you are now the beasts. You belong to the beast, no longer God. So God don't lead you anymore. The beast leads you. If you walk with God, you do what God says. Well, if you are now under the power of the beast, you will do what the beast says. The beast will make you do things that you normally would not do. So just getting the mark is not the end. Oh, you're just afraid of the mark. You better be afraid of living according to the word of the beast. Every single day, if the 666 is for real. But the 666 is not declared in the scriptures. Revelations in the New Testament by the Apostle John is different in what it tries to accomplish, different than the Old Testament or the Torah. Israelites would never write this New Testament book and this Revelations 666 prophecy. They wouldn't write Revelations, even though we are told that they did. But they wouldn't actually write it as it causes the thinking of the Israelite to go off the Old Testament script or go away from the Old Testament script, which was there to guide the Israelites in a certain way towards the Most High, towards His commandments. Whenever the Israelites in the Old Testament went off the script, prophets would rise up to bring correction and speak clearly to the nation of Israel, to tell them to return. But no prophet spoke against this Revelations book that ends the New Testament. Deuteronomy chapter 4 verse 2, it reads, Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish aught from it, that ye may keep the commandments of the Lord your God which I command you. So it ends by letting you know, when it says that ye may keep the commandments, it ends by letting you know that if you diminish or add, then you will not be able to keep the commandments. Because to add other stuff or to diminish, to take away from, is to no longer keep it properly the way it was given. But it says, ye shall not add. Yasaf, from the Hebrew, for add, means to add, increase, do again. So increasing the word that was given by adding more volumes in the New Testament. You're doing again. So whatever word was given, you're doing it all over again now by creating another book, the New Testament. It says it means also to join oneself to. Just like the New Testament was joined to the Old Testament, or joined to the life and in the mind of the Torah Israelite. So the Israelites would not have written this book unless they were being disobedient to the Most High and breaking the commandment not to add. So no prophet spoke against this New Testament Revelations book because the prophets were dead. Get it? The prophets were dead. The holy scribes were gone, who wrote the word that the Most High gave, as the prophets spoke in the Old Testament times. The priests, they were washed up and done for. So how do you get a word that is given in New Testament times and have it written down when the scribe, the priest, the prophet, the system of Israel, of the kingdom of the Most High, or the kingdom of the Word, was no longer operating? How do you get a word from God when the word kingdom was no longer in operation because it was broken down and the people were in captivity and their God was not dealing with them anymore? They were on a long timeout. It's called captivity. So the doors of the kingdom, as it relates to word being given by God, the doors of the kingdom, or the gates of the kingdom, they were just shut. How do you get into the Holy of Holies to get new word from God when He even said, don't add anything else? And notice, even after prophets like Jeremiah and Isaiah prophesy about, and even Joel and so on prophesy about your return from captivity in the end, they're not telling you that you are writing new books. It just simply says the old books from the prophets, which include the Torah, commandments and so on, that's what you're going to have to lead you back. And you're going to reflect on that when you return and start collecting your blessings. So when you get back into the land in the last days, when your captivity is turned again, it's just old stuff that you're going to be dealing with in your mind, and you're going to reestablish the kingdom of the Most High, and the heathen are going to come up and learn of the God of Jacob and so on. It says, like in Isaiah 2, because you're not going to have new books to deal with. It's still the old book. So even in restoration, it's still the original commandments, the original promises and prophecies that will be reflected on and that will be used. So why is there such a thing as a New Testament? And in this case, a 666, a book of Revelations with a mark of the beast prophecy. When even at the very end, the scriptures, they're letting you know, the prophets, they're letting you know that what we say is what's going to come true. What has been declared is what will happen. Yet someone says, mark of the beast 666, forehead or right hand. But none of the prophets declared it in the Torah, and the scribes never wrote it down. And it's funny because, like I said, the prophet was dead, so he could not speak against New Testament or Revelations. The holy scribes, the righteous scribes were gone, so they sure never wrote this because it's a different kind of writing than in the Torah, and they couldn't write anything new to counteract this Revelations stuff and this whole New Testament stuff, because any scribe that was there would have been Roman or some corrupt scribe writing these new things. And the priest was corrupt, so God wasn't dealing with the priesthood anymore. And the Roman Empire put in their own priest in Israel. So the Romans were running the priesthood in New Testament times. But notice that for something as big as a prophecy of 666 mark of the beast in forehead or right hand, that you don't have Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John telling these things, or the great apostle Paul with all that he said. You don't get these people and Peter and so on writing about the mark of the beast 666 to give a line upon line. So the scribe or the writer in the New Testament that wrote for John was working by himself to write something like a very big prophecy like 666 mark of the beast that you should receive. But in the Torah, when prophets were giving out very big words and a scribe wrote it down for them, then another prophet would come and prophesy similar stuff to give a line upon line support, and their scribe living in their time would write again and write the stuff from a different angle based on what the prophet in their time said, and it could line up, match up, and shed more light on what the other prophet said, so that you have some support and agreement with the scribes and the prophecies in the Torah times. But no one stood with Apostle John to write something else. It's just him standing by himself, so you don't get no line upon line with him for a major prophecy in the book of Revelations. The New Testament is fake. But when the prophets in the Old Testament wrote of you coming back from captivity and the heathen being defeated and so on, you can find more than one prophecy supporting that. Isaiah chapter 11, verse 11 and 12 tells of you returning and so on. Jeremiah, I usually read Isaiah 11, well, like you can probably read 11 to 14. And 14 starts talking about Babylon and so on. And you get Jeremiah 30, 31. And then you get, because it's a major thing, a return from captivity and the changing of your situation, a reversing of the curse, and you get like Joel 2 and 3. So you see, it's and the book of Obadiah, you see different prophets are giving prophecies for something major like your captivity being completed and you returning to the land of your blessing and getting your blessings and so on. But John stays by himself. The New Testament, it is fake. So since the kingdom of word was shut up, it was closed for business because Israelites went into captivity and the Most High was done with them for a little bit while they're in their captivity. Then who gave the inspiration? Who gave the word of inspiration for a 666 New Testament book of Revelations prophecy? When the kingdom of word was shut up, who gave that revelation prophecy? The new God, Jesus Christ. That Israelites never worshipped one time and never called his name ever in the Torah. They wrote the 666 fake New Testament prophecy and they worked to fulfill it with billions or trillions of dollars. Because people are saying, well, how come it's happening right now? Things are being rolled out and so on, and everybody across the world is talking about it. But this isn't like I'm saying to you here. They wrote the stuff and then they worked to fulfill it. And they use fear and all their tactics and so on to make everything look as close to the written prophecy, the fake prophecy in the book of Revelations as possible. So you will think God is behind it and that the New Testament was really given by Israelites who heard it from God. So-called Apostle John. But no, they just wrote a 666 mark of the beast, fake New Testament prophecy, and work hard to fulfill it with all the money that they've got. This is the same way they wrote many fake world history books and changed black lands to white lands, black people to white people, black gods to white gods, and they go so far as even changing the identity of all their people to live in those lands and say our people were living in these lands all the time, but they really stole it from the original people that were there. So they work hard to do that for a long time, hundreds or a couple thousand years, 2,000 years, however long that happened for. They worked hard, even to the point of changing the identity of their people, mixing with us and changing their identities and so on. And even when they didn't mix, they just took over the lands and just say it's theirs. They start dressing like us, dressing like the people that they found there first, and so on, and said it's them. They worked hard. They wrote their names and carved their names into things and paint their pictures and so on, and change your identities. Just like you know the term, the $5 Indian with the fake identity and so on. So they did all this stuff to make with fake statues, fake monuments and so on, damaging and destroying structures and stopping up rivers or creating new rivers to run here and there to change stuff, confuse people. They did all kinds of stuff, shifting and moving people from land to land or from one part of a land to the next part of the land to confuse things, cut people off with their culture and their knowledge and so on, killing the aged and so on who have the wisdom and the knowledge of the past. That's how they did it, and teaching the new younger ones the new knowledge and so on. They did all these things. That's how they're pulling off the same 666 mark of the beast. They've changed stuff and fixed it and set it in a way to make it look real to you. They change it with their money and with their science and so on. And with the people that they set up on the radios and everything to tell you this, that, and so on, and TV ads and whatever. That's how they're pulling off 666 mark of the beast. But it is not from God. It is a fake prophecy. So they did all this stuff, all this changing the identity of their people, just like they faked everything to make history books look real, but they are not actually telling the real history of Earth. But when you read those fake history books, they sound like real history. And then they put some fake stuff that they found and say, oh, and it's stuff that they probably buried, that they made themselves, and they buried 100 or 200 years ago, and then they go and dig it up. Oh, this was made 200 years ago or 1,000 years ago, but they just made it themselves and put it there. And they say, we let somebody dig this up in 250 years. You see, it's easy to do all that stuff when you're in control. So they make 666 Revelations mark of beast look real with massive funding in sciences, medicine, biology, virology, etc., and even funding to buy out and control politicians and media people and so on, and religious people, religious leaders and so on, who would otherwise in some cases not go along at all with any of this stuff, but they buy them out or force them and so on. So because some of these people don't like it, but that's what you're dealing with. Some doctors and nurses aren't on board with all this stuff and whatever, but that's just the way it is. That's the way they're pulling it off. But this 666 No matter what they do, it is not declared in the Torah by the God of Israel. Let's run over to the book of Isaiah, chapter 21, verse 9 and 10. And behold, here cometh a chariot of men with a couple of horsemen. And he answered and said, Babylon is fallen, and all the graven images of her gods he hath broken unto the ground. O my threshing, and the corn of my floor, that which I have heard of the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, have I declared unto you. Now look now, that which I have heard from God I have declared unto you. Because at this time they're trying to put forward just what God says. What comes into their ears, what comes into their spirits, they're putting it out. At that time, have I declared it unto you. Because if God is declaring it to the nation, they're going to spit it out and speak it and share it with the nation. So God is declaring stuff. He's giving stuff through his prophets at that time. And like I said earlier, the big prophecies are given through different prophets. Right? So they come at different times. Who supported John with 666 mark of the beast? Just him alone? It's strange. Isaiah chapter 48 and verse 9. For my name's sake will I defer mine anger, and for my praise will I refrain for thee, that I cut thee not off. And here again is like I said in another lesson, 666, mark of the beast, when you take it, it cuts you off and you're hellbound. That was not declared by the God of Israel, so no prophet spoke it and declared it in the Torah. 666 was not declared in Torah. Mark of the beast was not declared, so no prophet declared it in the Torah, because God did not declare it unto them and say, tell this to my people. But instead he says, I will refrain, I will pull myself back from destroying you and cutting you off fully. So how is it that we are being told that 666 mark of the beast will cut you off? You're done with God, God's done with you. After that 666 mark on you, you're done for. That was not declared, because the Most High declared, I will not cut thee off, which means he would never give any prophecy to Apostle John to say, if people take this mark, I will cut them off, they're done forever. The New Testament is fake. Look at Isaiah 41 verse 22. Let them bring them forth, and show us what shall happen. Let them show the former things what they be, that we may consider them, and know the latter end of them, or declare us things for to come. And you're telling me something as big as 66 mark of the beast that all people on the earth will get, according to John in the book of Revelations. You're telling me something that big would not have been declared in the Old Testament, when the Most High is saying, let them come forth and declare this stuff and show it, that we may consider it. It would have been available in the Torah times to be considered. And another prophet would have then gotten a word to confirm that that stuff was being considered back then and was being declared by the Most High, and other people were declaring it through the Most High, and so on. Whether they are speaking against it, such a teaching, or supporting it, it would have been declared, because the Most High would have declared it unto them. I have not sent such a prophet with that prophecy, or I have sent such a prophet. Here I'm giving you a confirmation. Now you go and speak it as well. Isaiah 41:26. Who hath declared from the beginning, that we may know, and before time that we may say, he is righteous? Yea, there is none that showeth. Yea, there is none that declareth. Yea, there is none that heareth your words. Only the Most High is going to be declaring stuff from the beginning, and before we could even consider certain stuff, and even declaring things for the end. Only Him would show these things. So if He never showed it in the Torah, then the 666 mark of the beast was not shown to the prophets in the Torah times, because the Most High did not have that on His mind. So it's not His prophecy. It's so-called Apostle John, New Testament deception. New Testament is fake. So now, Isaiah 42:9, behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. 666 mark of the beast, according to many, is springing forth on the earth right now. But the Most High said, before they spring forth, I will tell you. How come He never told us of this mark of the beast in the prophet's time, in the Torah? He said it Himself here, before things spring forth. It's just like when Israel is going into some captivity. Now you got the Babylonian and so on captivity. And He's telling them, you're going in, like, for example, for 70 years, and then He's going to bring them out and so on. And the same with this other captivity now. He's like, look, end times I'm going to bring you out. Right, He's declaring the stuff, but He's also letting them know how the end will be. That it's going to come out all right for them. So what kind of prophecy is this in New Testament from John? That you're going into a time of mark of the beast, but you're going to get the same judgment mark as all people on the earth. Yet the Torah prophets are telling you you're coming out fine, but John is going to say you're going to be done for. You're hellbound. When the Most High's prophet says, you're coming out as Israel. But John is saying, no, you're going down with all the people of the earth, because all will get the mark. The New Testament is fake. 666 is not declared in the Torah by the Most High or any of the prophets there. Final verse here, Isaiah 43 verse 9. Let all the nations be gathered together, and let the people be assembled. Who among them can declare this, and show us former things? Let them bring forth their witnesses, that they may be justified, or let them hear and say, it is truth. Know why he can say this? Because it's His word He's talking about. The people in the end will just have to say it is truth. Why? Because He already declared certain stuff. He already spoke certain stuff that He spoke to Israel, and He backed it all the way. So you know the future stuff is going to happen as well. You can trust that. He can say that the people would have to say it is truth, because they saw the track record of what the Torah Old Testament stuff said, and it came to pass in the life of the people in the book. So you can trust the future stuff. Where is the backing that New Testament revelations have that they can build on? They don't have that backing, because God didn't speak in the New Testament all the way up to Revelation. So by the time Revelations come, you can't hear and say Revelations is truth, because there is no backing. Even in the book of Psalms, they're singing the praises of the Most High and going over and rehashing the story and the telling of the testimonies and so on of how their deliverances were with the Most High and so on. Because they had multiple deliverances throughout the book, with different prophets being involved in the speaking of the deliverances and so on, the judges and so on, everybody there just cooperating and speaking forth the word of the Most High, fighting the wars of deliverance and so on, and finding the miracles of deliverance and salvation. So by the time the prophets prophesy some end time stuff, they understand what time it is. That this is the same God that's speaking about deliverance and so on for end times. Instead, what we get in the New Testament is not the same God doing stuff like that. But we get this new person, Jesus Christ, that's working flashy miracles, and it provides nothing for the fulfillment of John's 666 mark revelation, who stood on his own and prophesied that with no one backing him in the New Testament to say, yeah, a 666 mark of the beast is coming. But people could declare stuff in Old Testament times and say the Most High's word is truth, even if they're not going to serve the God of Israel, but they could have some respect enough to know the New Testament is fake. This 666 was not declared. Twitter, YouTube, Patreon, Yalak Emmett channel. Something as major as the 666 biological change would have been declared in the Old Testament, in the Torah by the prophets, by the Most High. Instead, we find the 666 mark of the beast was not declared.